2 nights in a row and second take. So, um, I was I had to bring this shelf in from the. I stored the layout in my garage and my wooden boxes that I made. You can see that in a different video, but we're gonna have a frost warning. The news said there's a frost warning tonight. So unfortunately, or fortunately, I've been copperizing my monorail tracks again. And as I found out in our trip to New Brunswick that one time, that this copper tape doesn't like being subjected to extreme cold and extreme heat back to back. And what happens is that the copper obviously shrinks when it's cold, and as soon as it gets warm again, it starts bubbling up. You can see, actually, this one's pretty clean. So I have to bring the copper track in for the winter because, of course, Canadian winters get cold. And so I'm going to be a little more protective of the monorail track that I've actually put the copper tape on. And I thought, while I'm bringing it in, I might as well do a video about this shelf here. This is one of 4 drawers I made for my boxes. It is 20 inches by 30 inches. It's in the bigger boxes. It's the same boxes that hold, I mentioned in another video, my 9 different base plates, module, half train modules. So I thought, well, I was bringing this downstairs. I'll take a video, show you. It's not a glamorous box by any stretch. It's a bit of a mess. It's got all the monorail for the layout. Now, of course, you can see I did the entire layout in Track Designer, a very old piece of software. And when you actually told up all the monorail, there's 150 pieces of monorail track in the layout. And as I mentioned in a different video, that one of the biggest pains and time wasters, if you can call it that, is putting the monorail track together. So I wanted to come up with shortcuts. So instead of 150 pieces of monorail track that I have to put together every show, I keep parts together and in storage. And so instead of putting 2 pieces of track like this together every single show, I join them with a 1x4 gray tile, and so this 2 pieces of long monorail track stay together forever. And then when I actually put them together, I use a blue, like that down there. I use the blue 1x4 tiles. So that's all that has to come off, and then they come apart. And then you can see my curved pieces, my half curved pieces. I got 1, 2, 3 pieces together. So this unit has 3 pieces. Now, actually, all my curved pieces like this, but they have curves. Or this one hasn't been copperized yet, but they stay together. So instead of again putting 3 pieces together, I just have to put this in place. And so we went from 150 individual pieces of monorail to 50 pieces of joined monorail. So that saves a third of the time. But what's really interesting is that when you're putting 50 pieces of monorail together, it's actually quicker. It's less time than 1/3 of putting them all together individually, because you can just put this down and there's a holder here. I mean, there's a stanchion here and there's a stanchion here. So the thing just actually sits there while you work on it. So you don't have to hold it and build it out. So it actually saves more than 2/3 or whatever the math works out to be, which I enjoy. And so I get more time for everything else. But it's still probably the most time consuming, besides actually detailing the layout after it's together, like putting out the shifts and stuff. It's putting the monorail together, putting the base plates down very quick, setting up the buildings pretty quick. When I get into the wiring more, it might take more time to put the buildings together. But right now, the bulk of setting up the layout is putting the monorail together. So I'm still trying to come up with better ideas. But for now, I've at least reduced the setup time by 1/3 or 2/3, just by combining pieces and storage. And let's see if it's in here. It might be in here. Page. So those are the 9 individual things, base plates. These are where the stanchions go. The color connotes how high the stanchions are. This is the 1 layer, and this is the words. Anyway, let's go find. I think I just saw it at the end there. So these are all the broken up monorail for the various loops. So you can see this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This little curve here is 6 pieces. That's 6 pieces. They stay together. These 3/4 loops, they stay together with the little pieces. So that's 5 pieces there. Obviously, that's 4 pieces there. So that makes my life a lot easier in the setup and takedown. And then I try to make it as consistent as possible, so I don't have to worry about trying to find unique one-off pieces. And there are some, like this one has a curve with a little short straight on it, and this has 2 and 3, and this is 3 and 2. Obviously, this is a hockey stick. Not really, but all these half curves, they're all identical except mirrored, obviously, and then a bunch of half curves there, and then the 2 long straights together, and then a couple straights with long straights with short straights on it. So I do need this when I'm putting it together because I won't remember the one-offs. Like these things are all the same, which is what I wanted from the beginning. I'm going to take them out so I can show you that underneath, because this was kind of a last minute thing. I never had a good storage for my monorail. Unfortunately, I will try to come up with something maybe this winter, because it is a little messy, and when you start trying to find the pieces that you're going to need for one individual loop, that the unique piece like this guy here, which has this one. I mean, I could take that off, but then I'm losing this one small, one more piece to put together. For the most part, I know where all the one-offs go. Like this guy is very easy. The 3 and 2, because that's how I designed it. So you see this, you come up here, and there's 2 and 3. So that one goes that way, and the other one goes that way. So that's easy. When I'm doing the bottom loop, which is what I always do first, this guy, I know it's part of that loop. So, and when I copperized all the other loops, because right now I only have 2 out of the 4 loops copperized, and when I copperized all the loops, I might actually just wrap them up into individual and have maybe different color codes for the gray instead of just using gray. Gray would be for loop 1, black will be for loop 2, red will be for loop 3. That'll make my life easier as well. So here's the other side. So this is, that's really off color. But this is the other side. So that's loop 1. I know that's loop 1. That's for this guy. I don't know why I must have used blue, because so this is again the ad hoc part. So I didn't have a big plan. I think it was right before one of my shows when I actually finished this setup, and I needed a place to put this one level in the main tower, and because it wasn't fitting in any of the other boxes, and I tried, but I could not get that guy to fit in any of the other boxes. So I put him here, and I thought, well, since he's sitting here, I'm going to fill in the other half with monorails. And it's very messy, and it's very messy after every single show. It drives me nuts, actually, because I want to make this better. Now, one of my new plans, since I'm doing the electrical, is to build another box, not nearly as big as the rest of them, to house all the electrical components, all the wall warts, all the power, all the extension cords. Kind of like what you see with the roadies use for bands and stuff. They just show up and they open up the side, and there's the plugs, and you plug them in, and you don't have to worry about it because everything's built inside. So I plan on doing that. With that box, I may make room for storage for these guys, because I don't want these guys sitting out in the winter either. I don't want them sitting outside, even though future state is that these guys will not have any batteries because they're all going to be off the power rails. Like the train itself has already has pickups, because it's got, of course, the 9-volt train system. But this guy, no, not that guy. Oh, this guy. Yeah, that's the one I was using. This guy, as you can see, already has the power pickups in here, so there's no battery in here anymore. It's actually very light. It's nice. But in the future, I should still keep him in here for the winter. I don't want him out there in the electronic parts exposed to the cold and stuff. But then there's this guy. So this is the one level. This is the monorail station level for the main tower. And so I keep, I forgot. Because, yes, I do now have power pickups on the monorail track. So before I go in that, so this is really, really quick. So basically, in order to strengthen a little bit, I got my Dremel, and I drilled through here. So the wire comes in here, and I knotted it so you can't pull it out. And then I did have one lead going to this side and one lead going to that side. And I soldered it onto the copper on the side there, so you can see that, and then copper comes to the top and attaches to the copper and the rails. Now, so this is just, I would say, just like the old HO, and even like the Lego 9-volt train system. So the copper folds over the end. As I said before, the copper stays down very nice on the top until it gets from cold into hot, but it stays down and it stays very solid. But in the end, it always seems to, it never seems to stick nicely, and it just always seems to peel up, which drives me nuts, because I think the ends are too smooth and the tops have a little bit of roughness to them. I don't know how to get around that. I don't want to glue the copper to the monorail piece. But anyway, overall, it's been fine. But what happens is that as soon as you, let me just take this off to show you. And this is really kind of neat. Oops, drop that on the floor. So, oh yeah, you can see this piece come up right there. Like, it just sometimes doesn't stick. But anyway, as soon as you attach it, you have electrical connectivity. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's the extent of it. So you just copperize each individual piece if you want, which is what I do. Even though this whole piece is going to stay together, quote unquote, for all time, at least while I'm doing this layout. I'm not going to run one piece of copper across the seam, just in case, I want to rejig the layout layer. Anyway, so this comes off, and it goes on. Now, I'll be the first to say that this copper has some width to it, some depth to it. So when you put the two of them together, and I won't be able to do it with my phone on, you do have to hold it. Well, maybe I can. I'll put that there. This is my cheating with the monorail with one hand. So it does take an extra bit of effort that is not there, but yeah, so you can do that with one hand. And now this is electrically connected, just because the two sides are touching. But you do have to treat them nicely, because the ends do, you can see here, so they do pop up, and I don't know how to get rid of that. So worry about it later. One step at a time. I can't, think of everything. So these are the round loops that I have for my various towers. I hide them here because then it raises this high enough so the guys can stay on, and then these things can just stay on top of the track, so it's not pushing down on the guys and knocking them off. So this is, I'll get these guys out of here. This is the one level. I think it's level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Level 5. This guy fell. Who is this guy? What is this guy doing here? Brickfet. Hi, Brickfet. So, yeah, it must have been up there. And sometimes pieces break off. Oh, this is even missing. I'll have to find a tile for that. Not my favorite level by any stretch. Not even close to my favorite level by any stretch. Oh, and this is the thing. So, people who know monorail know that this edge here is flat when you put the 1x4 on it, and because of that, and here and there and over here, because of that, the diameter of this quote unquote circle from here to here is slightly less than from here to here. Well, from here to here. And I found that to be very, very odd, but I also found it to be very, very nice, because when it's in my box, like, I cannot put this thing down this way because the monorail won't fit. Like, it just doesn't fit, but it will fit this way. So it's very kind of neat that way. So it fits this way, will not fit this way. So the monorail is not a perfect circle, a perfect quarter. Each one of these curved pieces is not a perfect quarter round circle. And you can even see that. And that's what I mentioned in my other video when I was talking about the landing pads. So this piece here, the 1x4 here, is touching the wing plate here, right? So there's no gap at all. And of course, so I can show you this without breaking, because it is a fragile. It is very fragile. Not nearly as robust as the landing pads. It never had to be. But if you look underneath, I got the Technic pieces holding the monorail to the platform. So the Technic pieces, the Technic beams, go from here all the way across to there, and from here all the way across to there. But as I say, so you got the the 1x4 plate, and it's touching the 4x9 wing plate that I have here. But you go over one, and now there's a gap. And the gap actually gets bigger until you get to the 45-degree mark. You can see the bigger gap here. Okay, but then it gets smaller again until it hits this one, and then it's touching again, and then it gets bigger, and then it's touching again, and it gets bigger, and then it's touching again. So you put 4 monorails in a circle, 4 monorail curves in a circle. It's not a perfect circle. It's not close to perfect. And actually, it's what is that? A millimeter and a half. So that's like 3 millimeters difference from the 45 side to the 90 side. So it's 3 millimeters wider on the non for 90-degree side. It's just a little piece of trivia in case it comes up in Jeopardy or something like that. Probably never will. And my interior here was just completely ad hoc. I was just goofing around and trying to find something that looked. Nobody ever sees this thing. So it's I was thinking TARDIS console, something like that. I keep on meaning to change it because it is dopey looking, but hey, it's there. And so this character, and I used to have a name for her. She was like the maintenance Scotty kind of person that fixed everything in the entire layout. I had a name for it and I can't remember it now. It's been a long time since I actually looked at this individual module, this individual floor, because basically I take it out of the box and I put it in the tower. I've never really modified it since the first time I built it. The only modification I did is I put the EL wire in it. It does not even have life lights in this layer. And so when you look at my night video, you can see that this layer is dark. And that's unfortunate. I keep on meaning to light it up. I'm not there yet. So this, besides the EL wire following the concourse here, it's not lit up. The other thing I had years ago is I had like a red 1x1 tile there, clear tile, and the green trans green on the other side. The green's still there behind this guy, so you can see the green. But the red, I must have knocked it off somewhere. You can see the red one over there. I don't know why the red one's missing here, but I wanted to connote door opening and closing. Red is closed, green means open, whatever. Not much more I can say about this guy. You know, I put these guys on there, and this is where Buzz is all the time. People point him out, and he stays there. Actually, I think he's the only Buzz I have. I never got more than one. And this guy just came out, and I just put him out here. As I get new minifigs that are related to Classic Space, I don't have the orange Classic Space guy yet, but when I get him, he'll probably end up on this layer because this is kind of where I put the unique ones, like the green guy. And that came off of, where is he? Here he is. I'm not going to mention his name. Okay, I'll mention his name. Peter Reed! I love this guy. So, yeah, that's where that came from. One other small thing that nobody cares about except for me is I could not put the bars here and here because as the monorail came around and curved back, it would hit this piece. It would hit them and it would actually fall off. So I had to remove that. So that's still, every time I look at it, I go, I wish I had a better solution. But right now, nobody besides me notices it except for you guys. Now you're going to come to a show and point it out and say, hey, look, it looks like crap. I know it looks like crap. But anyway, yeah, so originally the EL wire wasn't here, and I had another row of 1x2 grill plates all the way through here, which look cool. And of course the yellow, just say this is danger zone past here, because I use 6 wide, so it comes out to here. So put that there, and you can see that you don't want guys standing past the yellow because they'll get run over by a monorail. Yes, I think in the universe a lot that when I design these things, I think what's going to work, where they're sleeping, where they're eating, where they're, playing volleyball or whatever. One other thing of note, so the 4x9 ends here, and then I had to fill in this little gap here because, of course, this piece is here and that piece is there, that wing plate's there. And so you could not put a 1x6 or even a 1x4 across, but you can squeeze in a 1x3 in here. Now, in the certain places so there's a 1x4 there. And of course, you can see the corner is getting squeezed by this guy. And I know it's one of those things that I leave. 1x3 works, and I think it's the actual legitimate way of doing it. But I've squeezed a 1x4 in just to stop the gap. What else can be said about this guy? Not much. The bottom is pretty bleh. Could be better. Looks good for pictures. You know, it gets inserted. You don't see this middle part at all because it just goes on top of the base. And I'll show you that when I get all the pieces together and out. I don't know when I'm going to do that because I do want to show the tower setup itself because I think it's kind of cool. Yeah, and so then we got the monorail pieces. Oh, there's just another piece. I don't know what that's from. I'm not worried about it. Joe, return. So keep on finding pieces. So let's put this back in. There we go. Oh, some people ask about the gap. What's this? These little gaps here. These are the quote unquote doors from the lift, the elevators, the turbo lifts, whatever you want to call them. This is how people point of demarcation to get into the lift and go up and down. That's how you get into the various floors. All my floors have a doorway, an elevator door. One of my favorite sets. So I have a bunch of them in here, and then I have this patented carrier right there. So that's one of my monorail trains right there. Carries these little shuttles around. Always cool. What else do I have? I do have to rebuild my monorails every show. That's why I want them out of here into their own storage container. I did a whole video on this. This is quote unquote, I won't say heavily modified, but it is modified in order to make it work. And it breaks a lot because right now, the only thing that's keeping these two halves together are 1x2. And I don't think I'm gonna do this with one hand. Should get a tripod or something. The 1x2 plates, and so it does hide though. It hides the motor very nicely. So it does the job that I needed to do, which is hide that thing. This is I was working so hard and worked on so many different iterations, but this front cab turned out to be one of my favorite monorail vehicles. You got the these guys that are all facing that way, and they open up to the sides. But this guy, front to back, and then the control unit. This is one of my first female minifigs in the layout until I had that one show where some guy went off on a complete rant about how women shouldn't be in space. Come on, dude, seriously. And so the entire layout, the next show, every minifig in the entire layout was a woman minifig. But this was always a woman minifig. I don't know if I just grabbed it out of the box and put her in there, but she is the commander of all the monorail trains. She has a name and I can't remember it now. Again, I'm making the hierarchy diagram. Yeah, so this is a very old little control station, and this minifig has been in there for a long time. Very easy now after working on it for a long time and making it overly complicated. Because originally, I don't think I can find them really quickly, but I was using the 6x6. I want to call it the rocket platform that's in the alpha base. I can find it really easy because it's in, and you guys can see it. There we go. So you got this guy. I don't have a place to put him. So that's going to fall on the ground. So this guy has two of them, and so we turn around and you can see what I'm talking about. So originally I was using these pieces 6x6. It has that indentation in the middle, the 4x4 indentation with the hole in the bottom, which worked perfectly, by the way, to put in a bogey. So that works on those things. It does. I tested it. It works out well. The problem is that this thing sat way too high because the walls are way up here. It's a brick and a plate, so it's 4 plates tall. And then I put the slopes on it, and I said, "Oh, this looks like crap. It honestly looks like crap. It looks too high. Blah blah blah." And then I had to worry about underneath the lip and blah blah blah. So I went to brick build it or plate build it from scratch from the bottom up. So this originally was using those 6x6 wells, and then I modified it to this. And then when I found this, I'm going, I can't believe I did not think about that right off the bat, because this honestly took a couple days or weeks to come up with an idea that I thought looked good and was going to work, because they're too big, too bulky, too many unique pieces, too many whatever. And so let me just grab a set here. I'll break the set. I'm gonna get a tripod next time. So, and so yeah, so it is just 1x6, and then 1x4 plates, and then I use underneath the bogey here, that off, a ring of like a 2x6, 2x6, and 2x2 plates, because I need that gap in the middle. As I mentioned, my monorail, I need that gap because on the Technic plate here, the bogey connector, the half pin, is above the plate, and if you do not have this gap here, this top of this bogey, this top of this pin, rubs against the circle on the plate, and it doesn't turn very nicely. So you need the gap. So when you put this in, that little pin has that gap right in the middle there. So you can't just use a 6x6. Again, found that out. so you need the gap. So I did 2x6, 2x2, 2x6 with a nice square, and then 1x4 underneath. And then the connectors, the 1x4 with balls, or this one's 1x2. I must have cut it up. But you can do, or that might be a 2x2. It looks cut. Doesn't matter. See the other one. Where'd it go? Yeah, no. So this is the 2x2 with socket, the 2x2 with ball, and then in the back, this guy is the 2x4 with a vertical hinge on it, horizontal hinge, whatever. And then you just alternate between ball and socket here, and then you have the vertical hinge, ball and socket, hinge, ball and socket, and so you can get this whole train going. You can see this. So you got the vertical hinge, the ball and socket, the vertical hinge and ball and socket. And that just allows you to go up and down ramps. That's what it's for. It gives you stability to go up and down ramps. But again, this became the easiest build after I got rid of all the technicalities and overthinking the plumbing. The 1x3 slopes, the tile on top. The chair is a little unique. So I will see if I can pull this person out easily. She came off with the chair. But I wanted the armrest on the chair so they can listen to their music or whatever. So again, a 1x2 jumper plate, and then a 1x3 plate, and then the armrest here, and then command controls on the side, just because it looks cool that way. And then the person sits right in the middle, which is kind of nice. Just leave your hair on. So the person sits right in the middle, and it closes up, and then she's closed, and then she's inside. It's kind of neat. And then they just drive around, and they all have their individual cars. And as I say, Technic plate and the half pin on the top of the bogies fit perfectly. And then there you go. And then these things can spin around. One of my favorite designs for Monorail, because it looks cool and it's easy to build, and they're just basically overall completely, besides the trans yellow, basic pieces that have been around since the 70s. The 1x3 slopes, the ball and socket, 1x plates, 2x plates. There's nothing unique about this thing at all, except for the bogey and probably the trans canopy here. But when it came to this part, it got a little more dicey because, of course, I needed more room. I needed to hide that, so basically I built these things the same. I just put a brick in to raise the whole thing up by one brick. You can see they're basically the same. Below that, you got the blue stripe, the gray stripe, the trans yellow, and then, but the rest is exactly one brick higher than these guys. And that was just to allow room for the motor and the battery. So they still fit in everything. They still get through the tunnels, and they're not that much taller than a regular one. But of course, when you see this and you open this up, that is 2 bricks taller than the actual motor. So that does, you do have to worry about some height clearance, but then you can hide the 9-volt inside. Right now it's not connected, so it's not going to close properly. But and then you have your custom, as I said in my other video, your custom connections. So I cut off off the 4x20, I think it is, Monorail base plate for the cars. I cut the last 2 studs off and attach it there. And on the front, it's a 1x4. There's the guy right there, 1x4. So in the end, I talked about the other monorails earlier, so I'm not going to go through. Again, I should look at that power before I actually start making a video. What were we talking about? Those guys. Talked about those guys, my favorite guys. We're finished. We've wrapped up with that, right? So we don't have to talk about it anymore. If you guys had any more questions about those, just, drop me a line. I wasn't going to talk about the rest of them, but while I was getting this phone charged and connected, I wanted to talk about this guy a little bit. And he's the last one I came up with. So this is the battery box unit. And so I'm not going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about the front car, because this is one of my things to do with Monorail, is to come up with unique ways of actually doing it. And this thing completely disintegrated in my hand right now. So this is one such way. This guy, where I don't the battery and the motor are incorporated. But I wanted to do something else. I wanted to put the motor right into the car instead of having it separate. And it took me a little while to work this out. So sorry for the lack of magic here. There's absolutely no studs holding the tops of these guys on. It's just, I can't see this looking at the phone. It just slides on top. There's nothing, because there's no studs to connect to. So I don't bother. So this guy took a little while to work out. The front is just a regular bogie on top of a Technic plate, and that's all the other cars are like that as well, except that the bogies in the back. But I wanted to put the motor right into the thing, and I was again, I worked for days, and I tried a variety of different things, and nothing was working until it just, why am I not just using a 2x2 turntable? Seriously, ding. I was trying a 2x2 turntable before, but I had this huge, concoction of pieces around it to hold it in one spot, and blah blah blah. And I'm going, I don't need this part to hold all the weight of the car, because of course the car is pushing down on the motor, right? So I don't need to have this turntable. If I do this at the back, and you can't see it now because of course I took the power connection off, but the power connection is right there. And I'll show you the power, there it is. So the power connection is there, and if you put the power connection onto, okay, I don't think I can do this nicely. This might take more than. So if you put the power connection on the motor, the power connection itself, this piece here is resting on top of the power connection. Like, that's it. You put the power connection sideways, so the wires coming out the side. But this thing can't push down now. So this takes part of the weight, and this takes part of the weight. So I didn't have to worry about the whole thing, because this thing is only held on by 2 studs. So it will push up, it'll break off. And then, yeah, so this thing now can turn because of that 1x2 tile, right? So the monorail motor can turn, and it turns enough to get around the curves. And that's all I had to do. And then, of course, the bogey in the front. And then all the other cars have the bogey in the back. And again, I went into details in a different video about why that's true. And so you eliminate a base plate with a battery box on it, the monorail motor, and then another base plate with your engine on it in front. And that's what I wanted to do. So all my cars are quote unquote symmetrical, and they all look the same all the way down the path. You don't have that one small one in the middle. It's 4, 8, 9, 10, 12, 12, 12, 12. They do look a little bit like I want to say bubbles or something from Guardians of the Galaxy 2 with something that Kurt Russell would fly around in, or trailers from the 60s, camper trailers from the 60s, the teardrop camper trailers. That was fine. It was something I threw together. Pretty easy to build, actually, besides putting the motor in. I use these 1x6 curves on the bottom, just standard plates, standard bricks, the space bricks. So if you look at an actual car with the top off, these guys can sit across from each other and talk to each other. I did have some, I thought I had some with, here it is. I had some with computer displays inside, just like that. So they can text their girlfriends or boyfriends or whomever. I haven't finished dolling up the rest of them. But this is standard. Just plates and Technic plates. There's nothing at all fancy about this. These 1x4 panels and trans yellow. I mean, they came out the minute. Lots of them in Space Police 3 and everywhere else. So I mean, there's nothing at all unique about these guys. And again, I went with the vertical hinge and the ball and socket hinge, but then I changed them all to vertical hinges. Because there was no ramps on this level, and it was just easier to set up and take off the monorails if they're all together. Because look, see, you don't have to worry about it, and they're not flopping all over the place. So that's that train. Again, it's not my favorite by far. It did replace this guy. This guy was my first 6-wide. Let's make a different mock monorail train, but it's a standard car monorail engine and then car in the back. And I did have at one point, and you can look at my videos in 2009, that there was car monorail motor and then 4 cars like the Harry Potter train, and then this car that way. So I mean, and that's without any modifications at all. No drilling, no drummeling. But it's heavy, and it just went through a lot of batteries and blah, blah, blah. I mean, I still like it. That's why it's still together. I might bring it back at some point, but right now I'm going with this 1960s trailer look. See what happens. Let's get right off Monorail altogether, and let's talk about my electric train. So this is Jeff Van Winden at the first, not the first iteration of his space train, but his small iteration of the space train came up with this, and it's a brilliant concept. And I didn't know you could do this. So you get the 2x3 panel, and it covers up the wheels. That's what it is. So you get the 2x3 panel, and it covers the wheels. Now this is not a working train motor. The motor is actually out of here. It was busted, but I wanted power pickups. And this will still pick up power, which is kind of nice. So that's irrelevant. This one is relevant. Let's get it out of here. So this is the actual motor, and as you can see, it's exactly the same setup. Again, hiding the wheels with the 2x3 panel, built from here back. And then basically you get a 1x6 plate that connects to the motor hooks. That usually you would have the other train pieces connect to, and then you just build off from there. And then when you get to the top, you connect it to the studs on the top of the motor, which I'm not going to take off here. but this whole thing is built on top of the studs of the motor. But the power pickup is hidden underneath here because I wanted power to get to the front because I got lights in the front. This is I will say, a Dave built. And again, hanging on train groups. Thankfully, I hung around train groups back in the day. So you get the one L pin with the stud on top, the hollow stud, and then you put, and you can sort of see it. You put the pneumatic pipe in there, and the pneumatic pipe is small enough to hold the train axle, which is really cool. So you can actually build your own bogies, your own train setup, however you want, and just use Technic bricks or whatever, and then the Technic 1L pins with the stud on top, and then you put the pneumatic pipe in, because the pneumatic pipe is the same. The inside diameter is the same, mostly the same as the outside diameter of the train axle. So that works exceedingly well, and thank you for whatever train group came up with that, because that works for me. So again, no quote unquote modification except for cutting pneumatic pipe, which is Lego stock. You're allowed to cut pneumatic pipe because it says right in the instructions how to cut pneumatic pipe. so this is not a third party mod. This is a Lego mod. Anyway. So, and I will say this: I had fun. I had lots of fun, and I would say almost too much fun designing the engine. I wanted it to look spacey. It kind of looks like Tholian web kind of thing. So, there isn't much to it. This wing plate hides the mess underneath. So again, you got the brick here, modified brick, and a modified brick there, and this thing fits perfectly across that. So you don't see the crappy seam. I wanted the back to look a little spacey. There's just a hinge brick down here, which allows this thing to tilt down. So if actually you wanted to take this off, take the other side off. This thing is just on a hinge. So there's a straight and there's a down. So that's it. And I, of course, used a Big Benny spaceship cockpit. Trying to fit everything in here, a little tough. I will say that it was a little tough trying to fit everything in. That's why I moved the motor to here, because the motor originally was here. Honestly, the electric motor was here. The problem is with the pin on top and the motor itself, I couldn't get these guys low enough to keep this angle, and this whole thing was one brick higher, and it looked like way too tall, and it was taller than most trains, blah, blah, blah. I didn't like it. So I removed the motor from here and I put it there, and then I came up with that, thanks again to other train heads. And then it just, come on. I'm getting not really good at building everything with one hand. So, it's not going to, there it goes. So, it looks cool enough. And again, I have to have the yellow, black, yellow, black, yellow, blah, 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 in all my cars. And the logo. It ain't much to it. Honest, again, this ain't much to it. The one thing is this little gap right here. I couldn't get this plate to come down far enough because it would interfere down here, blah, blah, blah. I think it's good enough. You still see the two guys there. There's the guy and the girl. And it does get a little loose after a while, and you have to like push it back together. But it does the job, and it looks cool. And then the actual cars themselves just carry around sundries and stock and whatever else to the various parts of the layout. So that's that. And then you got the next one, which is the bigger box that came from the Starfleet Voyager. So people say, hey, that's the box from, hey, look, that's the box from the Starfleet Voyager. Yes, it is. I love it when fans walk up and they recognize something that's not in the actual set, because I do have Starfleet Voyagers on the layout. And again, for a set that I did not like at all when I was a kid, it's fast becoming my favorite because people recognize it instantaneously. They say, "Oh, the Starfleet Voyager! I had that when I was a kid." Blah blah blah. They talk about that one more than the Galaxy Explorer. When I remember seeing it in the store, I honest to goodness, I saw it in the store, and I said, "This looks like Drek. It looks the front with the cone and the tilting, and it didn't appeal to me at all. It didn't have the Galaxy Explorer 924 918 look to it. It didn't have the new look to it with the Galaxy Commanders and all that stuff, or the 6890. And I said, I don't want that set. So I never bought it. I never honestly bought that set in the store. I bought almost every other classic space that you see up there when it was available in the stores. This was so many grass cuttings, cutting grass and making money. That cost me a lot. I remember that. This one, mine. The solar transporter, huge. The uranium, oh my goodness, I saw that and I fell in love with it instantaneously. I said, I gotta buy this set, and I bought it. This guy, I will say, I did not have when I was a kid. I didn't. So I got the 918 in 1979, 1980. And then my parents stopped buying me a Lego, basically. And then I started buying my own. And by that time, it was 1982, 83, when these guys were starting to come out. And so that guy was already gone. He was already off the shelves. I wanted him. The X1, already gone. Wanted him. So there are a few classic first 2 years of classic space that I did not get off the shelves. But 6890 on, I bought a lot of them off the shelf, like a lot of them. Again, except for the Starfleet Voyager. That guy, the second I saw him, I'm buying him. And I think it was almost close to 20. So I said, I'm buying that guy. Did not buy this guy. Did not buy him at all. I said, again, just like the Starfleet Voyager, meh. Like, no, it's a parts pack. And back then, I wasn't into parts packs. This is a whole other video that I might have to go into. And so I'm going to cut this now, and maybe I'll talk about all that stuff later. Anyway, back to this. Let's go off on a tangent, a very passionate tangent. So this is the one shelf that I have to bring inside, and again, I'll put it all back together. And I'm going to come up with a better idea, because you can see it's a mess now. Of course, I've been playing with it in this video, but it's a mess, and I have to put them together every single show. And I don't like doing that. So I want to make this easier. So I'm going to probably build that box over to winter. That's going to house all the electrical components for the lighting and everything. And I'm also going to make room to hold those guys. And then I can store something else here, and that I can add to the layout. And that'll be that. Anyway, 2 videos in a row. I'm going to have to figure out how to stitch these two together, because, again, the phone died halfway through the last one. I want everybody out there to stay safe, stay healthy, stay socially distant physically, but don't stay socially distant here on the intertubes. Give me a shout, give me a line, give me a thumbs up. I won't ask for subscriptions, because I will not do that. Subscribe if you want. I don't need it. I'll do this anyway. I'll do this with 1 subscriber or 100 subscribers. I love you guys. I love my friends. I miss my friends. I miss all of you. And I hope everybody's doing well. I will talk to you guys soon. Take care. Bye.